In the middle?
Down.
This one?
Down. And let me put this.
My
state.
my head is a bit big.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good to go. Hello, everyone. My name is Ali. Middle name Haydar, last name Demir. But short and easy, Ali works so far. So you can call me Ali. This is a very tricky and risky title for me because I am new in this field, and choosing Umwelt in my title is shouldn't mislead you that I am really onto what the biosemiotics and all the theories and all the so far whatever is there. I'm just kind of trying to match what I know with biosemiotics and semiotics, but there can be some gaps. So if you feel one, please forgive me. How did I end up here? It's an interesting question, of course. Honestly, like I'm a PhD student going into third year in culture and communication, and my background is in filmmaking and a little bit music. I play violin and also saz, bağlama, three-stringed Turkish instrument. Mainly it was like dervishes would play it, like kind of like troubadours in Europe. So mushrooms is the main reason I believe that I am doing this right now. Yes. And then second reason is as a result of this, I started reading, and yeah, that tells everything, I guess. And then actually, like after my experimentation with mushrooms for a little period in my first year as a PhD student, and I think I got into that because I have a background in music, and my quest when I got into PhD was kind of I wasn't sure if I wanted to go into that field, because from art all of a sudden into department culture and communication, it was like I couldn't make myself like believe that I would do that. So, but the thing is, like sometimes when I played music, I would just get into a flow state, and during those flow states, I would get like different ideas, like while playing, and I would always say like that's a great idea, and even like the beauty of that musical motif would make me very emotional, as if like elevated, as if like aha moment, like a scientist did, like Newton when the apple dropped and discovered something. So this kind of moments. And I said like, is it like that? Is it something when you're onto transcendental domains and the material domain is less of a gravity and less of an influence in you? So that was the main thing, and I was like trying to actually, my main question was, how would I make it compatible with, from an artistic point of view, creativity and sometimes that aha moment? And I was like naively trying to compare it with the miraculous deeds of the sages, early Christian sages, or mystics in Islam, or the Hindu or Buddhism. And then that was like my main quest actually, but it was always evolving. And at some point, after trying mushrooms, I kind of tapped into a different world, because what I was thinking and speculating about became more like something very deeply felt, embodied through those sessions. And out of curiosity, I just wanted to read more, and I developed interest in what these things are. So that's and also Jamie Pelkey, my supervisor, who encouraged me to submit an abstract to this conference. And he was supposed to be here, but because of university duties, he's not here. But his greetings to all of you here. And so main two articles actually. Merlin Sheldrake wrote in one of his articles about the enigma. Richard Schultes was trying to tackle with. It was like the shamans of indigenous shamans would recognize the main plant of ayahuasca brew from distance, like 200 meters. Okay, that's the real wine that we are looking for. And Schultes would say, how is it possible to distinguish it from the other wines? Because they look like very similar. And Schultes is an expert anthropologist, botanist, and he's trained 12 years in the field. And he was like puzzled with that enigma, how he couldn't distinguish with all that training, but how the shamans would just easily lock it. So maybe I should go back if I missed anything here, but no, it's like mainly. And then the other source is the Cosmic Serpent written by Jeremy Narby by 90s, I guess, early 90s or late 80s. He was an anthropologist doing his field work in the with the Shipibo people and Ashaninga people also. And then he happened to try ayahuasca, although it wasn't his main purpose to be there. He was there basically to develop a thesis where he was trying to prove that indigenous people were also using the land as reasonably as Western people, because companies, corporations would come, and with that logic, they would want to take away the land from the indigenous people under that pretext. So Jeremy was trying to prove opposite, but while spending time with them, he was invited to an ayahuasca session, and he tried, and his visions asked more questions. He did more readings. Other anthropologists who went there before him, their observations, his own observations, and he was like stuck between a problem. A problem was, on one hand, it was a shamanic worldview, and on the other, scientific worldview, material-based Western scientific vision. And he was like trying to, the problem was actually, he stated in one of his speeches, he said, ayahuasca, when you try ayahuasca, it's the last stop of the rational gaze of the Western mind. It's like from the moment on, you are in an uncharted territory when you do. So it's hard to talk about your vision from a scientific point of view. That was the thing he was having difficulty with. And after some reading, some time, he kind of started developing a hypothesis. And the main hypothesis was actually shamanic vision with ayahuasca or plants was giving you these fluorescent like snakes, an anaconda, a jaguar. But main theme was always a snake in some form. And although it was like supposed to be a hallucinogen that you are under the influence of, in the meantime, let's say, is this an vision also that I am having? Like what makes this the default mood and what makes the ayahuasca mood? When you try ayahuasca, the main report is it feels as real. So then you say like, oh, these snakes, because, and main thing is like, oh, this is your subconscious producing these snakes or these visions. But the problem is it's hard to think that way. Like, oh, these snakes, these visions were in my subconscious, and this brew is bringing it out is a bit far-fetched, especially when you try it yourself. But if you haven't tried it, I know it's very alien and it's like very speculative. It's very like ghost-like realm that I'm trying to talk about. So if I didn't try mushrooms, I would probably be not paying attention to somebody's plant story because it's hard to kind of focus, I guess. So, but also main thing, like in Amazons, like these people, indigenous people, have like we can say like, oh, they're just indigenous and the Western capitalists are going there and that's the situation, colonialism, and that's a bad legacy. But yes, we need to do more about this rainforest and everything. But apart from that, like indigenous heritage comes from a very like at least 10,000 BC, and their ways of civilization, ecology, and the land management, cities that are being more and more discovered, especially after the deforestation in the Amazonian Peninsula. The geoglyphs that are being discovered suggest that there were like big cities pre-Columbian, from pre-Columbian era, and like the city sizes of these cities were like equivalent of London or medieval cities, major medieval cities from Europe. So there was like a different lineage of a tradition that was going on. But if we only focus on the tip of the iceberg, it's just like the indigenous people from Brazil, and that's the common story. But if we dig deep, there is like a history like as old as Sumerians or Babylonians or Iranians. And actually, also one example, we have conservation parks to protect the land and the species, and the indigenously managed lands are better protected than conservation parks as a comparison. So snakes as a metaphor, as a symbol in everything, not only in the Amazons, but all across the world. In our dreams, perhaps less, but the double helix of DNA also gives Jeremy the main clue to build his hypothesis. Twisted snakes that you see in the ayahuasca visions are compatible, are the best correspondence to, from a scientific point of view, with the helix of DNA. And the thing is, so it's like hard. Like I understand from Jeremy's point of view, how do you make this thing a working hypothesis? And it's a very far-fetched hypothesis in a way. But at the same time, if you try experiment with ayahuasca or mushrooms, that hypothesis makes sense because the visions you have are somehow compatible. Because when you ask an average shaman from the community, they say they learn things from ayahuasca. And what's the ayahuasca? It's a snake, mother snake. And it's that kind of one question leads into the another, but at the base, there's like the theme of snake, and animism is the main ideology or like a perspective that they have. Everything has a personhood. And Jacob's ladder or double helix or Sumerian Quetzalcoatl or Hermes, like these themes are seems like random, but let's say I'm gonna keep going at this point. And to give you more, this is like the visions of a Peruvian artist who was like a shaman, but also an artist. And he was like he had a photographic memory. And when Luis Eduardo Luna asked him if he could paint them, he painted. And there is a book called Ayahuasca Visions, the Religious Iconography of a Peruvian Shaman. It's very interesting. I recommend you. It's like the best way for outsider to understand or to know what these people are talking about. And these are like kind of visions from those ayahuasca sessions. And ayahuasca is basically a mixture of two plants. And but I should come to this later. Biophotons in our DNA is somehow, Jeremy is trying to say, is the biophotons that radio wave like faint emissions creating those visions. Because ayahuasca supposedly gives you the capacity to dive into a biomolecular level of your being. So I just put this here, but I'm not like fully in grasp of what this suggests, and critic of Western gaze, reductionist, and calling for an expansion of its episode. Yeah, we need to widen our visions, and this is the forest television. And if you want to tune into forest television, you need to drink ayahuasca. And ayahuasca is like a brew you drink, and you tune into the realm of entities. And entities are representing like everything is an entity. Plant is an entity, a mountain is an entity, river is an entity, and they are. I'm gonna come to that, but chemical basis of ayahuasca is two plants mainly. Caapi is the main vine, and Psychodria viridis is the one that has DMT. But also Harmala alkaloids are significantly important. Like they're important because without them, the DMT containing plant would be stopped in your stomach. Monoamine oxidase inhibitors. So the DMT would be ineffective in our stomach. But with having the caapi kind of deactivates those enzymes in our stomach, so the DMT reaches brain and the blood. So we have the visions. So another question is actually, how did out of 80,000 plants in the Amazons, how did the indigenous people figured out a plant that would overcome that obstacle? Because our enzymes in our stomach would make it ineffective, the DMT. But you find a plant that makes that enzyme ineffective, so the DMT reaches the brain. So quick answer is like, oh, it was just pure chance. But if you think more deeply and honestly, you say like, no, it wasn't chance. It's because what the indigenous people say, they learn this information from plants, from the entities. But they don't call them entities. Entity is very alienating word, I think. They have like a kinship with those entities, and they call them like a extended family members. This is the vine, and this is the one of the pieces of like Psychodria viridis, just leaves. They mix. There are about 72 different versions, but also ayahuasca is not the only plant that they rely on. Tobacco, virola, other forms of plants are also used in different ceremonies and healing sessions. And the ornaments and this kind of structures, arts that they use are supposedly, maybe not supposedly, are kind of what they see in their visions, and they kind of extend it into their lives. And also, when you look at the cave paintings like this, and according to indigenous point of view, they are also like reflecting those psychedelic or ayahuasca visions. And I just put it here, Joseph Campbell, like kind of, and we look from when we are too stuck in a perhaps materialist gaze, we lose that touch, that magic, that enchantment. And for that reason, I just put this there. But also mushrooms are not like a recent phenomena, or like these brews are like going at least 5,000 years. This is like a painting from Algeria, Tassili cave paintings. There are like many drawings, but in some figures, we see a figure holding mushrooms and enlightened, kind of like a luminescent. And I just wanted to put it here. So it's at least 7,000 years. Also in Australian Aborigines have like a similar paintings that goes like 10,000 BC. This I just put OpenAI. I was like Mysterium Tremendum et Fascinans, and it gave me this Rudolf Otto's book, Sacred or the Idea of the Holy, because like when we don't have the religious experience within our bodies, it becomes a dogma, and we just go to the church, the mosque, or whatever the group we belong to, if we are believing, or even if we are atheists. Still, we have that dryness, that lack, that something is missing. And I just put it like that something is missing is suggested by open AI. But also tobacco is as important as ayahuasca. Tobacco is like mother of ayahuasca, or ayahuasca is mother of tobacco. But they are like very important. The cigarettes we smoke in the West is commercialized for every day, and real tobacco is like at least 20% more stronger than average tobacco that we use in our cigarette. And if you smoke a little bit more, you can die of it. But shamans train with this, and it gives them strength in their visions and everything. And those who smoke tobacco are called healers. Sheripiari means healer, shaman, who smokes tobacco. And those invisible ones that I said entity, but I wasn't happy with that, are called like names like Maninkari or different indigenous names. And this is not to be confused with spirit or deity. They are like reflections or understandings of an animistic world where plants, everything has a personhood and extension of your family. So you are living in a alive cosmos, soul or soul heavy, or everything has something that animates it behind. And the forest is alive. It can only die if the white people persist in destroying it. If they succeed, the rivers will disappear. Underground, the soil will crumble. The trees will shrivel up, and the stones will crack in the heat. The dried up earth will become empty and silent. The hapiri, again the spirits, who come down from the mountains to play on their mirrors in the forest will escape far away. Their shaman fathers will no longer be able to call them and make them dance and protect us. They will be powerless to repel the epidemic fumes which devour us. They will no longer be able to hold back the evil beings who will turn the forest to chaos. We will die one after the other, the white people as well as us. All the shamans will finally perish. Then, if none of them survive to hold it up, the sky will fall. He is a Yaminahua shaman. He wrote this book with an anthropologist, and it's interesting. And this is my kind of pudding of shamanic umvat, but I really don't like it. So I'm just gonna skip. Ikaros is another element of these visions. Shamans are, when asked, like, how do you know the formats? How do you know the remedy? How do you learn this? They call say like the hidden ones tell us. And how do you learn it from the hidden ones? Through the songs. And these songs are called Ikaros, but there are different names for them. And in a way, when you learn these songs from the Maninkari, the invisible ones, you have more ability to cure, to heal. And it's like almost like an invisible way of transmitting a knowledge to a human being with these entities. And it's like a very metaphorical way. The lyrics of these songs are very twisted, and it's a twisted language, twisted like the double helix of the DNA, and metaphorical. Jaguars are baskets, anacondas are like the hammocks, and so on. And there's like a book about DMT dialogues, those people who experienced, and some important figures in there. When you see the Kapir spirits, they arrive dancing, singing, they can't not sing. It's essential. Their melodies are infinite, and what they bring, first and foremost, is knowledge about healing. What the shamans do is put themselves in the presence of these entities, listen to their songs, and learn them. The way to do is to diet and prepare the body. So what we would call going into the DMT space is difficult. It takes preparation. Then the point is to pay attention to the melodies and to learn them. This is another quote, similar, so I'm going to skip. And these are like kind of questions, but I had many questions. How can shamanic traditions contribute to eco-biosemiotic discourse? Also, Luis Eduardo Luna is a kind of an important figure, bringing these perspectives from Colombia. Said in a conference that we are all shamans when we dream at night, but we forget it when we wake up. what does indigenous shamanic tradition of using plants to connect with the ontologies and ways of being and knowing hold for humanity in relation to the ongoing existential threats like climate change and everything? And these are like some sources that I used, but I just quickly summed it up. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
2 minutes for questions. You've asked a lot of questions, but I'll start here.
So my question is, for what I've been hearing, those experiences, they form within a null cosmology, like a null ontological way to look at the world with a set of belief system, in a set of belief systems that's really contextualized at those. I mean, I would say just out of mind states.
Mm-hmm.
How can they be decontextualized,
Mm-hmm.
taken away from that cosmology,
And brought into here?
and not make them just a very banal, drug experience, like whatever else that does not, fit into that very, very rich cultural context?
I think the tendency, like the tourism for ayahuasca or healing, that new trick, that new way of finding meaning in our lives, and people go there, and there are like many different companies like promising healing and everything. It's inevitable because it's like a capitalist market economy is there, but also I think it's important that these shamans don't do these plants for tripping or for the sake of tripping. Always the focus is healing, to bring healing. But when we are going there, let's say if you are a Western, you go there once, you're probably gonna go again and again and again and again. It's gonna be like not enough something. So it's not something like that. It's just that's the main purpose, healing, I think. If that was a answer.
Like taking meditation on a regular basis.
Uh-huh.
Very quick comment. I was recently at a conference with Luna.
Oh yeah. Oh. Mm-hmm.
He made the point that one of the bio side effects is purging.
Mm-hmm.
Gut parasites disappear.
Yeah, that might be true. That's probably true because you take a bucket with you and you vomit throughout the night, and
Depends on your diet, though. That's all.
diet also.
Like non-substance essentials.
Diet is important. Yeah.
One. And we need.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's so the shaman culture, after all, is kind of penetrated fully by language, which means the science already there, but the meanings were something that attached and used to attach to this science. So which means that despite of the archetype of the arctic structure, appeared all over the world, in every corner of the world, in all different kind of arts, they are science.
Uh-huh.
No matter whether they are there or whether we have this kind of dialectic structure, DNA is always will be still in the dialectic structure.
Yeah.
So I don't believe there is an analog, the reasonable analog between those pictures and this kind of a DNA structure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, honestly, I think it's not the main point though. Although the book is built on that hypothesis, the main point I think because like you can only appreciate what he's trying to do, and because you know that you are entering a realm that you have no idea who is what is what, and who you are basically, and things unfold, and you witness, and when you come back, it's like you have no way to describe, to put it into words. And I think in his book he's doing a real good job to kind of make compatible scientific and shamanic worldviews. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Ali.
Thank you.